Maybe you've heard words similar to this. A preacher is standing before a congregation, and in front of that preacher is a bride and a groom. And the preacher will say, "Friends, we've come today at the invitation of the bride and the groom to share in the joy of their wedding." Is that primary in marriage? Joy, happiness? Now, I want you to understand, I am for joy and I'm for happiness, and I certainly want a marriage to be a happy marriage. But is that primary? I'll explain more about what I mean. And it really comes down to this idea of holiness. Remember in Ephesians chapter 5, verse number 27, the church is an illustration of marriage. And Christ died for the church to make the church holy, set apart for the purposes of God, pure in every respect, a glorious church. Well, let's think about this idea of primary. Is an A+ on a test paper good? Of course it's good. But have you ever taken a test and not learned the material? Matter of fact, maybe you cram for a test and you learn the material just long enough to pass the test and then you forgot everything. Well, that's happened to me and that's happened to others. While an A+ is good, it's not primary. What's primary is learning the material. Actually gaining knowledge should be primary. Now you might be thinking to yourself, what are you talking about, Bill? Well, let's take this idea over to marriage. Incidentally, the A+ is good, but that's secondary. Learning the material is primary. What about marriage? Is having a happy marriage good? Of course it is, but it shouldn't be primary. I know folks that have a happy marriage, but it's not a holy marriage. They might enjoy being together, but they don't have a marriage that honors God. And so as we think about this idea, we need to understand, okay, what can I do to make my marriage a holy marriage? One thing we can do is we can find out, what does God say marriage should be? And let's honor that. Society has entered in, just like Uzziah entered into the temple, into a holy area where he didn't belong. Society has entered in to the courtyard of marriage, and they begin tinkering with it and say, 2 men can get married, or 2 women can get married, you can get a divorce just because you're not happy with the other person. What does God say a holy marriage looks like? Join us again tomorrow.